connected with a group in Kansas. They only have 40 acres. For families. You know, some of it's forest. They're trying to just figure out this for their pastures too.
Yeah, it's rough trying to keep your pastures up. It's a very delicate balance because you don't want to run the soil down. You can't let them keep the pasture too far down. I've been reading a lot of books that say only let them eat it down like to there and take them off.
You could probably, it sounds like you're ahead of us in research, and we could probably learn from you.
Well, he gave me that book, The Cow and the Earth, which was interesting because it talked about irrigation. And it talked about how it depletes the soil, and we're at a point in our neighborhood where we're going to lose the CAP water. The rights to that were sold to the Indians in 2007. President Bush signed into something saying the canal water. That's what services this area for irrigation. Yeah. So in 2030, all that water will be transferred to the Indians. And so we will.
Reservation?
It's Sacaton.
Yeah, there's reservation to the east of us and to the south of us.
Yeah, we drove to one of the during class.
They put in enormous farms out
We drove
there.
through Gila River reservation.
What do they grow?
They haven't grown anything yet. They're just starting.
They'll be growing cotton, corn, alfalfa, all the good crops for Arizona.
Yeah. So we're trying to figure out other ways to water. We're thinking about using well water. We've got a well over there we're looking into. He's actually the president of the irrigation board, so that makes it good. We have some say in what happens, but it's a big expense. I mean, you're talking about a $500,000 project to get piping to get up to our drops. So.
Yeah. Did you find who purchased that land?
There's a well.
Which group?
It is a
Did you get the name?
Orifi?
Huh?
Orifi?
Well,
Does that sound familiar?
ORIFI?
Right.
No.
And we have to pipe it
It's
into
ERFAN, I think.
Starts.
ERFAN, Irfan.
Yeah.
We have to put in
It must be Muslim group then.
Could be, yeah.
Irfan is a Muslim name or Arabic name.
Okay, so it's a different group then.
It's not a Hindu group.
Yeah.
IRFAN, Irfan.
ERFAN.
ERFAN, Irfan. It's an Arabic group.
Okay.
And which location, you know?
It's somewhere in this neighborhood. I can get the address, but I don't know it right now.
Yeah.
They regulate the water very closely because we don't get very much rain. And so to get a well here is very difficult and very costly.
I see. So we also have some 17 acres up by Concho. It's actually, you know, they built a new Mormon temple next door in Snowflake. Yeah. So we got a well put in there. It was very easy, but we have to go down like about 500 feet.
It's very different up there than it is here in the valley. You get a lot
It's a
more
big
rain up
aquifer
there.
up there.
Yeah.
1,200 feet, I think that well is.
Yeah. The wells here are about 1,200 feet deep.
Really expensive.
And they're so low.
Well, but the aquifers really be that low. So there is a very big aquifer here.
Mike says it. They borrow stuff a lot. So we're working with different ways of thinking of different ways of watering. I don't know that irrigation is the best way to go, and if it is, having the land perfectly level so you get a smaller amount of water is better. Because right now, when you flood it, if there's a high area, you've got to flood it until it gets up to the high area. Whereas if you have it perfectly laser level, it's going to be cheaper to water. Not only cheaper, but less water. So maybe it won't leach so much to the topsoil. Is my theory. But we're working on that. Every year we try something different. I think the biggest thing is trying to import good materials to soil. The more I found out about the GM seeds, the more I don't like about them. I think they use an excessive amount of water. My grandfather was a cotton farmer with me, and they found that the GM seed uses 3 times the amount of water.
There's a lot of things that people don't know about GM seeds.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been reading a lot about it.
Just recently in China, they had an uproar against GM seeds.
Yeah.
Seeds in Europe. But in America, they don't even have to put it on the label.
Yeah. Yeah. I buy all my garden seeds heirloom.
July
So
14 is my
but
deal.
the problem with the GM seed is they
And
can actually
you-
cross
can you
pollinate with your heirloom
hold the
seeds, and
camera
now
like
your
that?
heirloom seeds won't reproduce.
See,
It's a
you can see
problem.
them.
So
just
unless you're
hold
doing
water.
greenhouse, how do you protect yourself from
I'll go there.
all the cotton farms around you have GM seeds?
Okay, well, you might know that what's happened in some places, a couple places in Canada, some famous cases where the GM seeds blew into farmers' property from other farms. Then the
Now you can
Monsanto,
stand.
whoever,
You can
sued farmers
You
for
can go and
using
stand
their-
there.
I watched Food Inc. and also Corn King.
Okay.
So I'm familiar with some of those stories. And then there was also issues with Indian farmers in India who were promised triple crop yields, and a lot of them ended up committing suicide because
Yeah.
the farms failed miserably.
Yeah, you probably.
So I've been reading the stories, I've been following it.
That means you've probably seen this Vanda
Yeah,
Shiva
that email I sent you.
lady on the.
Say
I
again?
haven't,
The email,
I haven't seen her.
I was the one who
She's a
sent the
very,
email
very
asking you what your
famous,
birthday was.
environment.
Oh, yeah.
She's actually
Mine's
a-
2000.
Yeah, 2000, yeah, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Remember I showed you the book
Activist.
and
Yeah.
I marked there
She's traveled all
10-8.
the world.
Oh, yeah.
Remember?
presentations and
I know, I know.
Very much against what's happening with
I'm working on carving out a
Yeah,
car.
it's
Yeah.
scary, it really is.
I'm carving
Okay.
a cow for you for your
Okay.
birthday.
I want my kids to use
Okay.
good
That's why I want you to know.
I don't want Roundup sprayed all over everywhere. So, a lot of my,
you really found the right place.
Right. I told you, I'm blessed, you know. That's the thing I
well,
told.
hopefully it'll be a good fit
Yeah.
that we can both get what we need.
Absolutely.
I need cash flow. That's what I need
Absolutely.
because it's very expensive to do this. It's very expensive to have a big piece of property, to pay irrigation, to pay, you know,
Yeah.
keep the animals fed and find sources. You have to pay a higher price. If you want good hay, you have to pay a higher price. If you're willing to pay, you know, less money, then you can get stuff that's raised not in a fashion that's proper. But I've actually been thinking about growing our own hay crop, and the irrigation shut me down. They're like, you cannot grow hay, there's not enough water to go around. Because there's empty lots all over the place in the neighborhood because of everyone losing their properties.
Yeah.
You know, I think 5 acres just went for $123,000 last week. 5 acres. See, and when I moved here, this is 3.3, we paid $185. So it's not
For how many?
3 and a third. This is the smallest piece you can buy in this area, and at the time, that's all we could afford. So, but you don't necessarily have to own it to use it. That's what I've learned. It's cheaper to use it than it is to buy it.
Well, have you looked into these? You know, they're starting to reinvigorate some of the ancient water collecting methods in some desert areas in India.
I haven't heard about that. I would love a link. If you know of a link on YouTube I can go, I would love to look at it.
I'd have to,
Search.
yeah, I'd have to search it. But next time I come upon something like that,
Yeah,
maybe
email
I
it to
could.
me.
Maybe you could. You have her email?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
emails me all the time, so
Yeah.
just forward it to him
Oh,
and
yeah,
he'll forward
yeah,
it to me.
definitely. I can definitely keep you in mind for that.
Yeah, and if you're doing symposiums at BYU and stuff, I'm sure they've got ideas too. So if you come across any of that kind of thing.
Well, you know, speaking of the Indians that are going to be tapping into that canal water, well, they had things figured out too, didn't they?
Well, I don't know. They've got canal systems just like the traditional farmers. They're pretty, like they're the same. You know, farmers need large crop yields. That's what it's all about. Every farmer I know, and I love some of the farmers here, they're wonderful people, but they believe in Monsanto and they believe in their products because they do. They get triple cotton farming. They had triple yield of what they normally get. They're like, who cares if we have to spend more on water? We get triple yield in our crop. So, because I'm good friends with a lot of the farmers out here, and so that's one issue that we kind of butt heads on. But they're for profit. They can't make a profit if the water's high. And, you know, you have this whole economic aspect of it that when you're not looking at people's health doesn't matter. You know, so it's kind of a
Yeah,
catch-22.
there's a, as you mentioned that book that he gave you, Kyle and me. There's another one that I don't have a copy of. It's a new book called Capitalism, Communism, and Taoism. And from speaking to you for a few minutes, I can tell that you would really like it. So what I can do is I'll forward you a link to it. You can just download a PDF file.
Oh, sure.
And I'm just finishing up reading it myself. But he's really done his research well. Keep in mind, it's a fellow in India. He doesn't have an editor. Doesn't have a good editor. He's really done his research.
Well, I'm interested in studying all that kind of thing. I mean, if there's anywhere we can glean different ideas on how to do things, I'm open to it, you know.
Yeah, ultimately, you know, the way things are going, it's not going to be easy, but ultimately the solution is to wean people off the whole economic ladder, you know, so as more and more people can become self-sufficient again.
Yes.
And
Yes.
That is ultimately the only solution.
Yeah.
It's not going to be easy to back things up.
You know, and it would be easier if we actually paid for what our food costs. A gallon of milk in the store, it doesn't cost $2.50 to produce. It costs more like $8, $9 maybe. And then if people had to pay what it's really worth, same with the beef. The reason why they've gone to these horrible practices is because of profit. That's what it's all about. And unfortunately, that's not the best thing for the earth or people.
This book is all about. It just goes through history, showing how the capitalistic spirit has run down to what we consider.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go get my water.
Yeah. So